Hey everyone, welcome back to the Chapple Show. Today we're talking about 11 financial mistakes that millennials make. Now, full disclosure, I've made a couple of these and I've learned from them, and hopefully I can pass on my learning to you. But we're going to get right into this here. We're going to start off with number one. So this is a two-parter. This is a student loan. So that's part one. Now, sometimes that can be good, so we're going to make it more specific. A student loan for a bad degree. This is by far the number one mistake that millennials make. So think about this. Tuition in the States is what, 20 to 40 grand a year? If you're taking out essentially, let's just say a $50,000 to $100,000 loan, and you're getting a degree in like women's studies or history, and there's no like real jobs that are going to pay well afterwards, why are you getting the degree? Sure, you can go for the experience, but you can also get that experience by just renting out an apartment near a student center and going to all the campus stuff without paying tuition. How about that? But generally, those degrees in the STEM categories like science, whatever, tech, engineering, and math, generally they're good. Now, math can be a little bit tricky sometimes, but generally speaking, anything in those four categories, that is, you can take out a loan and you'll be fine. But a lot of those like arts, humanities courses, they are a lot less useful than they were back in the day. And in fact, I've actually seen like courses like there's one on the Beatles music specifically. Like who's going to hire you if you have a degree in Beatles music? And I'm sure that there's a bunch of wacky other ones that you can think of, but we got to move on here. Don't want to run out of time. So student loan for a bad degree, number one mistake. We're going to move on to number two, which is relying on one source of income. This is a big mistake. People, especially after university, they go get a full-time job, and a lot of the times they will think it's stable because it's your first job. Like, these people are hiring, this company must be doing well. Not really. Companies aren't as stable as most people think. Now, there are some fairly stable ones. You think of like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, whatever. But those jobs don't really tie into what most people do. And what if one of those companies wants to do a cutback to increase profits? You're done. You may get a severance package, which may last a month or two, and you get half of your income for a couple months. But after that, you're kind of screwed. So I guess number two is more of like, try to make more source of income and try to keep your options open. So don't have your heart set on one career and one source of income. Just, keep your eyes open to see if there's other opportunities if this one were to fail, kind of thing. We're going to move on to number three, which is not investing. Massive, massive, massive mistake here, because this can be the difference between you becoming a millionaire when you're older and not. So simply by having a 4% return, putting away 5 to 10 to 15% of your income every single month, that can make you a millionaire. Super, super simple, but by the time you're 45 or 50, easy to become a millionaire. I see so many people, they put their money into a checking account, which has an interest rate of 0.1% a lot now, and they'll have $10,000 to $20,000 in their checking account. Meanwhile, you could invest, half of that, $5,000 to $10,000, pick up 6%, and you're making an extra few $100 a year, and then you reinvest that, and it keeps going, and it compounds over time. It creates the snowball, and eventually when you're older, you could be rich. So, not investing is a key mistake a lot of millennials make these days. We're going to move on to number four, and this is, the emergency fund. So, this is something that I've learned is a lot more apparent than I thought. Most people live paycheck to paycheck, and I do realize that, but most people should be able to live for 3 to 6 months if they were to lose their only source of income. Back to this, if you have multiple sources of income, you probably don't need as much of an emergency fund as you would think. But yeah, you should always have, a few $1,000s in the bank minimum, just in case, your car breaks down. If you're in the States and there's a medical problem, you need to pay medical bills if you don't have insurance. Maybe part of your house falls apart or something. I don't know. But you should always have a few months of an emergency fund, a few months of income in an emergency fund, just in case things go bad. So that's something to think about. We're going to move on to number five here. And this is, oh my God, I hate this one. I hate this one so much because I've seen it. Payday loans and car loans, auto loans. These are the worst loans. They can ruin people's lives. payday loans especially, because you can take out, these loans have an interest rate of 15 to 25% that you have to pay on them, which is absolutely ridiculous. And a lot of the times the people that take out payday loans, I was watching this documentary, and they take out payday loans so that they can go to the bar and have fun. Like, if you don't have money to go to the bar and have fun, don't go to the bar and have fun. That's the way it should be. And auto loans too, like, people want $15,000 cars but only have $2,000 to pay for it. Don't get the $15,000 car. Guess what? Get a shit box that you can buy used. Sure, it might break down in 6 to 12 months, but it's better than being stuck with an auto loan for 5 years. So just stay away from these. They're absolutely terrible. We're going to move on to number 6 here. This was a killer for me, which was eating out almost every day. Eating out almost every day can be a killer. You know, going out for lunch, those $5, $10 lunches that you have every day, that adds up. If you go to work 250 days a year and you have a $5 lunch every single day, that's what, over $1,000, $1,250 that you're spending on food. Meanwhile, you could pack a lunch, which costs you $1.50. There you go. You're saving $1,000 right there. So for me, this was Quiznos. I went to Quiznos every single day for like a semester. It was $14 lunch, $14 to $18 every single day. And it was it burned through $1,000 in a few months. So that was not good. Do not make that mistake that I did, everyone. We are going to move on to, we have lots of time. We're going to move on to number 7, which is buying everything with credit cards. So going over your limit can hurt you in the long run in a lot of ways, because payments can build up if you can't pay them off right away. 2, it kills your credit. And if you want to buy a home or take out a loan to invest, like investing in stocks, you know, leveraging your stock buying real estate properties, whatever it may be, getting a business loan, small business loan, if you keep maxing out your credit cards, that's a massive mistake. And I think it's 7 years before that goes off your credit or something like that. So don't make that mistake. Don't use credit cards all the time. Use debit. And what I actually do, I'll give you my example, was I use debit for most of the things I buy, vast majority of stuff I buy, but I use only about $300 to $400 of credit cards just so I do have a credit score. So I use about $400, $500 every month. But here's the thing. Right after I make a purchase of like $50, I go onto my phone and I pay it off right away, or usually within 3 days, so that I don't forget about the payments, which is the next thing I want to talk about, which is number 8, which is a killer, which is the minimum, oh, and I spelled that wrong, minimum, that's right, payments. This is a killer. People think that you only have to make minimum payments. Sure, but it's going to kill you in the long run. If you owe $1,500 in your credit cards and you have $1,000 available, but you only pay off $50, that's not good. Pay off as much as you can. Get those out of the way, because they're going to stick with you in the long run. They're going to kill your credit too, and you're going to end up paying, like, I saw this example of people that were so behind on their credit card payments that every time they bought something, it ended up costing them 2.5 times as much as it would if they were just to have used debit and not get behind on their payments. So this is something to think about. Always make more than the minimum payment. Always pay it off in full if you can. I know I understand some people can't. You should control your spending if you can't. But that's something to think about. It's a big financial mistake for a lot of millennials. Number 9 is, this one was another one of my mistakes. We're going to just say girlfriend and boyfriend. Oh boy. So I had a corporate job. I was making good money when I was 17, 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. And but I wasn't good with my money. Well, I was okay. I was investing, but I spent thousands of dollars per year just trying to impress my girlfriend. Don't do it. So I kind of have this, what I write on here. So I had the type of girlfriend that would want to go out all the time, that would want nice things, that would want all that stuff. Don't pick that kind of person. Pick the kind of person that is totally okay with you not spending a lot of money and investing it. And like I say to my current girlfriend, who's great about this, like, look, I can't see you a lot right now. I'm building my businesses. I can't spend a lot of money on you right now. Well, I could if I wanted to, but I'm investing that right now. And she is totally okay with it, because what's the saying? It's live right now like most people won't, so that you can live in the future like most people can't, if that makes sense. So right now, if you're especially teenager, young 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, don't go full blast into, trying to do all these fabulous things with your partner. Just be chill, be frugal. In the long run, you're going to be able to do with whatever you want with them in the future. So it's a good thing. Pick a good partner that understands that you're investing in both of your futures. So it's something to think about. Pick the good partner. I made that mistake. So we're going to move on to number 10. Number 10 is, oh yeah, oh boy. I actually saw an article on this for Toronto recently, and the rental rates of the average person, the average 30 and 40-year-old, has doubled in the last 30 or 40 years. I don't know what the exact numbers were, but I think that the average person was renting at a rate of about 10 to 15% decades ago, and now it's at about 25 to 30%. I could be wrong on that, but I do remember it was double, whatever the number was. I know that there's a lot of people out there telling you that just to keep renting. Even like Grant Cardone says, never buy your house. Never buy your house. I do not agree with that, because let's think about this. Let's just say the average rent is $10,000 per year, and you rent for 40 years. That's $400,000 that you would have paid off your house. And I know so many stories. Like, I listen to podcasts, especially like Dave Ramsey. He always has these conversations with either elderly people or the children of elderly people that don't own their homes and have no money. It's something really sad. Meanwhile, also, here's the other thing too, is that mortgage payments are a lot cheaper than rent. Because think about this. The landlord wants to make money every single month to cash flow. So the example I give is, for that $1,000 a month rent, you could be paying about $820 for a mortgage. So you're saving $180 per month, plus whatever you're paying is going directly into the mortgage and equity in the home. It is something to consider, but maybe when you're in your young 20s, or your young 20s, in your early 20s, and you don't really know where your next job is going to be, or where it's going to be in, the state or province or in the country or whatever, yeah, sure, you probably want to rent because you don't know where you're going to be in the next 6 months or a year. But if you know where you're going to be, you have a stable job or a business that's successful right now, then it's worth buying your home. Now we're going to move on to number 11, which is, oh yeah, the parent lifestyle. The parent lifestyle. What do I mean by this? Your parents, by the time you go to college or university or in your early 20s, they're probably in their 50s or 60s. And when you were a teenager, your parents were living a pretty good life. They were probably making, $50 to $60 to $70,000 per year. They probably own their own house. And you get to experience a lot of things that a lot of people in their early 20s can't, even if they have a full-time job. Because your parents have been able to build wealth for an extra few decades. Meanwhile, you're just getting into your first job. So generally what happens is this. A lot of youngsters will try to be able to create that same lifestyle that their parents gave them. So they'll spend all this money trying to find a super nice apartment, trying to get all this high-end food, all these high-end stuff that they used to get when they were living with their parents. And they shouldn't really do that. They're going to burn through a lot of their money, burn through a lot of their credit. And yeah, they try to maintain their old lifestyle even though they're a young adult. You're supposed to be poor. Well, you're not supposed to be poor. But like the average young 20-year-old is poor and generally in a lot of debt. So you got to live like you're poor and in a lot of debt. That's the way it should be. You cannot live like your parents did, making $60,000 to $70,000 per year in their mid to late 50s, because guess what? They have had a lot more time to work their way up through a company or build their own business or whatever, and you're just starting. So you got to live poor, and it'll pay off in the long run. So stop trying to maintain the lifestyle you were given by your parents when you were growing up. Anyways, that's going to wrap this up here. What are some other financial mistakes that you have noticed from your peers or millennials or whatever? Did I miss some? I think that these are a lot of the key ones that I've noticed. So if you have any opinions, whatever, leave a comment down below, leave a like, subscribe. I love all your faces. You're all very beautiful people. I'll see you guys in the next video.